today, and tip number 7 from the top 10 cheat codes to a professional quantum leap. And that could be for your profession if you work for another company, or in business if you're a business owner. And with that said, before I go into the name, I want to tell you a little story behind it. So a long time ago, there were a group of people who were crafts people in weaving specifically. And they worked in developing and creating textiles and so on and so forth. And there was a gentleman who was pretty famous for the day, and he was widely regarded as legendary with the quality of craftsmanship that he levied on making textiles. And so his name was Ned Ludd, and he was regarded as, like I said, an expert in his craft. Now, with that said, textile makers have always been trying to improve how textiles are made, because it's a pretty labor-intensive process. And so the creation of the loom became a kind of a turning point or an inflection point for textile makers, because they were able to put looms inside of their factories, and that would automate a lot of the heavy labor that was involved in creating textiles. And it made it faster, it could do it relatively effectively, and could do much more in a given period of time. And so with that in mind, factory owners were interested in the technology, and the people that put Ned Ludd on a pedestal became very angry, and they started to stage covert break-ins into the factories and destroy looms. And they were known as Luddites. And what happened is that history was unkind to them, because of the fact that they were so focused on destroying looms that they created an adversarial environment for themselves. They certainly didn't do themselves any favors. And then on top of that, because they were resisting so vehemently, they ended up not focusing on being adaptable. And in the end, they kind of ceased to exist. And so nowadays, a Luddite is a person who refuses to change and adapt with the times. And so, interestingly enough, there are some folks, even with all the technology that's around us, and the AI is now everywhere pretty much, and we've got all these things at our fingertips that help create force multiplication for us as professionals and business owners. I still hear some people, when I sit down with them to help them with their business, or just professionals passing in conversation, whether it's in networking meetings or wherever, and they say, "Oh, technology is not for me," or "Oh, I just don't get it," or "Oh, I do everything I can to stay away from technology." And in my mind, there's like this film strip playing that is basically like, okay, well, you are telling me the 7 most expensive words in business, and that is because we've always done it this way. And so really what it is it's a conversation with modern Luddites. And so the topic of this 7th tip is: being a Luddite is a lame excuse and a bad business plan. And so whether you are a professional working for a company, or you own a business, unless you own a business that's so big and generates so much revenue and profit that you can afford to just hire people to focus on technology, and even then it's pretty hard to completely avoid it nowadays. The folks that are saying, "Oh, I don't do technology," and you don't hear people say it as much nowadays, but there are still some holdouts that are resisting with everything that they can, whether they're trying to coast into retirement or sell their business or whatever. But here's the interesting thing. In 1955, the Fortune 500 that were on the list at that time versus 2018, there was a massive turnover during that time period, which is not a huge span of time when you look at it. But the interesting thing is that the companies that were on the list in 1955, there was only something like 11% of those companies that were still on the list in 2018, which is not a huge expanse of time. And so we're talking about some of the world's biggest companies. They were bought up, they were closed down. But a lot of that had to do with failure to adapt with the times. And so Kodak, which, many professionals that are in the workforce nowadays still remember Kodak in one form or another. They were, a massive titan in industry and filmmaking and processing and printing and stuff like that. And unfortunately, because of the fact they made some bad bets and they were very comfortable with the way that they had always done it, their business suffered accordingly. And now very few people have anything related to Kodak anymore. On a smaller level, as small business owners, as individual professionals working inside companies and stuff like that, if you are pushing tech away, I would encourage you to rethink your position on this, because of the fact that if you push it away, you dismiss it, what you're really doing is you're hamstringing yourself when it comes to professional growth and being adaptable. And if you are working with or for a company, very few people nowadays in the professional world have not experienced a workforce downsizing or layoff, or a demotion or a elimination of a position or something like that. If you own your own business, it is certainly that you've probably experienced a deal that did not go well, or a market was unkind to you because of the fact you weren't ready for a change in the market or something like that. So if you are the type of person that tends to push away technology, AI, robots, that sort of stuff, I'm not picking on you, just more of a gentle professional nudge to reconsider your position, because of the fact that there's a lot of good that can come out of it. Certainly anything can be leveraged for good or bad, but with technology in the right hands, it can become a force multiplier for pretty much all professionals, depending on the type of technology that they're using and in what capacity. And it really doesn't need to be that you have to be an expert, but I would encourage you to become more versed than you are and constantly upskilling yourself when it comes to technology. And what does that look like? Well, here's the thing. With any skill, just start with short bursts of practice. And what does that look like? Well, 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe start off with a couple days a week over the course of a month. Just do some research. Research things that are interesting to you and how they might relate to your profession. And then over time, you can increase your time and also increase your frequency. So maybe you go from 5 to 10 minutes to 10 to 20 minutes or 10 to 30 minutes in time that you spend studying and learning. Now, here's the thing. With AI, the web search that sends you down rabbit holes and stuff like that has really been fine-tuned. And you can go into various AI platforms and learn about a subject, and it will pull from multiple sources and give you a summarized take on whatever it is that you're researching. So you could say, teach me about generative AI, and then it's going to teach you about it. And then you can say continue, and it will go deeper. And you can say, tell me more, and it will go deeper. And the same thing is true. Like, let's say that you want to learn how to build no-code apps, which require you zero code skills whatsoever. Well, then you can say, teach me about no-code app platforms and tell me which ones are best for creating no-code app video games. And it will literally find you those and then make suggestions and stuff like that. So you start there. You just learn a little bit. So then you go a little bit deeper. And let's say that you want to build a no-code app for whatever. Well, then you've learned which ones or platforms that you need based on learning, because let's say you started with no real knowledge, and then you know which platforms are going to be good. And then you can go into those platforms and you can play around, and it's a sandbox environment where there's no real major mistakes. If something doesn't go right that you're trying to create, you just fix it. And it's a great way to learn so that you can continually build on whatever it is that you want to build, whether it's a video game or it's an app to help people plan their lives out better or whatever, or if you're learning to use AI for force multiplications. And so here's the thing, like, there is so much value out there, and don't be the professional that is needlessly hamstringing yourself when it comes to the workplace, because nobody's out of reach of technology anymore. Several years back, I was invited to give a keynote presentation on just kind of how technology was impacting healthcare and workforce injury prevention. And so one of the fascinating things that I found, this was, like I said, at least a handful of years ago, and another 5 years before that, there were robots that could do surgery at least as well, if not better, than human surgeons, ER surgeons. And so with that said, it's not an indictment on surgeons or anything like that. We should be grateful that we live in an age where this technology has the ability to do that. Since then, I've seen that there are robots that can deliver physical therapy. There are AI programs that can do amazing things, and there's also AI programs that can do, reading of radiographic scans and stuff like that. And these are professions that require a lot of skill. There are computer programs and algorithms and AI that can also do amazing things in the legal world too. And these are two of the professions that require a lot of expertise in schooling and stuff like that. So rather than dismissing it, rather than putting it down, rather than anointing yourself with being a Luddite, I would encourage you that that's a lame excuse and a bad business plan. Instead, constantly figure out ways to leverage the technology to your favor and also create your own market as a one of one. So here's the thing is that, if robots can do your job better than you can, then maybe you can be the person in the industry that's more relatable or has a really unique knowledge base in a very specific niche that technology has not yet delved into. And so, or it could be that you're the consulting person, that the technology does the first layer of whatever, and then you have to come in and go above and beyond that based on your expertise. But I can just tell you that it's really not a good bet to try to say, well, it's not going to touch me, it doesn't matter to me, that sort of stuff, because of the fact that it does. And the other thing too is that if you're part of an organization or you have more than just you working for yourself, the people that maybe are downstream or support you in whatever it is that you do, they're suffering accordingly because of the fact that if you're doing it the old way, that generally means that it's slower. They're trying to use whatever it is that you're creating to do their own jobs, and then they are hamstrung in various capacities because of the fact that you're doing it more slowly, or it takes you, other resources to be able to get it done when the technology could have helped. And so there's a lot of ways that this can go. If you own a business, rather than writing so many things, there's plenty of technology support to decrease how much you have to write. There's technology that can automate a lot of functions that you would either have to do yourself or farm out or hire for. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in some of the future strategies, and I'll keep this a little shorter, but just try to look at it as an opportunity rather than a burden, and realize that the more that you can embrace it and realize that you're putting good into the world by using it in a way that's productive. You can't control what everybody else is doing. So even if there are people that are using it nefariously or whatever, it's not worth your time to worry about that. It's more beneficial for you to focus on continually upskilling and being pliable, adaptable, but still committed to being excellent in whatever it is that you do, whether you're a professional or whether you own a business. But hopefully you can take that with you today. If you are a Luddite, it's not an indictment on you. It's a gentle professional nudge to just put in 5 or 10 minutes, a couple, 3 days a week over the course of a month, continually add some time, maybe add some days, become excellent in an area of technology, and then, figure out how those can benefit you from a professional standpoint. So have a great afternoon. Hopefully it's nice where you are. It's just starting to warm up here. And thanks for stopping in and taking a look at this video.